All right, welcome back guys to the next tutorial on Git, and in this part we are going to basically upload our code in GitHub. We're going to connect this local repository with a remote repository. For our case we are going to use obviously GitHub. I've talked about that, and then we are going to talk about some of the concept that we have learned in the last class. Again, the commit, the stash, the unstage, and the stage, this sort of stuff. And we have also talked about reset a little bit. So yeah, let's get started. um, now to to upload this code inside our remote, the first thing that we need to do is create a repository inside our remote um, software, which is GitHub, right? So go back to GitHub, and then just like you created a repository in your local, you also need to create a repository in your like remote, right? So to do that, you can click on this plus icon in the top right corner of your screen, and then click on new repository. All right, in here we are going to give it a name. I'm going to name it Git tutorial, and then you can put a description here and then make it public, and you can create a repository. Don't put anything here, just create an empty repository because we're going to upload everything from our computer, right? All right, so there is a few command line stuff here, but we're not going to use command line just yet, but we're going to use command line later on in this course. For now we are not going to use command line, so you can skip all this part. The thing that we really care about here is this link. Okay, so copy this from here, go back to your Git Kraken UI, and then you need to basically create a new remote. Okay, so there is an option called remote in the left part of your screen. If you click on the plus icon, you should you should not use GitHub, you should use the URL because we have the URL link already. So in the pull and the push URL, we're going to talk about pull and push eventually today. For now, just paste it in here and give it a name. So I'm going to name it origin. So this is basically a traditional name of what can I say, like GitHub. So when you use remote, in most cases the name is origin, right? So this is the name of the remote. You don't have to name it origin, you can name it anything. For example, you can name it, I don't know, my name, you can just name it this. You can name it something else. You can name it, for example, Git, whatever, right? So you can do that. I'm going to name it origin, and we can just do add remote. Okay. So when you do that, you now have two different branch. You have a main. These things are called branch, by the way. So we have only one branch. That means we have only one sort of sequence of code that has been maintained inside this main. This main is the name of the Git branch or the Git um, process that we have been working with, right? So this if when we say main, that means main has all this record, all this record of the commits, right? Now the origin is another one. This is another remote. Sorry, so this is the remote. So basically, what we are going to do, we are going to use that as our like when we are trying to upload the code, we are going to use that. Anyways, so yeah, so what we can do is now we can just try to push it, right? So when you try to push it, it's going to ask you that what remote branch should main pull and push from. So I am using, like we said, we are using origin, so we're going to do that. And by default it should have a main inside origin, so we don't have to care about that. By the way, the origin doesn't have any branch yet. After you do this, it will create the branch. And if the branch is confusing you, don't worry about it, we're going to go there eventually. Yeah. So yeah, so after you are done, it will basically ask you to like it's not going to ask you. So now if I basically push the code, so now what is the difference between commit and push? Commit is basically the stuff that has been stored in my local, right? So these are all the commits that has been stored in my local. Now if I want to upload these changes into my remote, I need to push. So that is why I did the push, right? So when did I push? Then all these changes that has been in my local should be also reflected in the remote. So now if I go to this remote, this is the remote, right? The remote means basically the GitHub repo. So if I refresh this page, you can see now all my changes is reflected in here. All right. So yeah, so now what we can do here is that we can basically you know do some more changes here. Maybe we can do it. We can create a method void main, and I can say here print health. Okay, now I can just submit that or commit that, right? So this is just a previous things that we have been talking about. Unstaged things means it's not yet ready to be submitted. When we stage it, we know that okay, we are ready to submit it. Then we write down the message changes in hello world commit. Now you can see there is two of them, right? Previously there was only one. So the computer, this icon, this means this is the local change. The main, and then this is my profile picture. It will be different for you. That means this is the change that is in my remote. The remote does not has this change. The remote has change until this point. Okay. Now if I want to get this change in my remote as well, I'm going to do push. If I do push, then you'll see pushed successfully, and then my remote is now in this location. If I go back in my remote, just going to check if the changes was applied. As you can see, the changes has been applied. Okay. All right, so let's save this, and let's talk about the stuff that we have been learned till now, and then we're going to back up for this class. Where is this? Yeah, so we have talked about Git repository, we have talked about Git commit, unstaged change, staged changed, and then we have talked about push, right? In this class, we have talked about push. Push means um, like submitting all changes in my remote. Now we also have talked about remote. Remote is basically the link or the repo where we have like the online link, right? The online version of our repo, right? For us, it's we're going to use we are using GitHub, but there is other softwares as well. For example, Bitbucket. Okay, Bitbucket is another platform where you can submit all your um, like Git repos. All right. Okay, so we have remote. Then what we have talked about? We have talked about stash. Okay, stash is undoing all your unstaged changes, right? But you can pop or apply them anytime you want, right? So yeah, stash was basically the things that you can like keep somewhere secret, right? So you can undo all the changes that is currently in your unstaged area. Okay, and then you can basically apply them eventually when you want it. And again, like I said in the last tutorial, don't worry too much about, well, these are all these are a lot of information. How do I know when to use them? You're going to eventually understand them, okay? But it's really important to understand the concept, the application of the concept. You're going to get familiar with them eventually. And in fact, I'll show you some real-time examples eventually down the road. Yeah, you're going to get there. All right, so yes, I'm going to save this. What else that we have talked about? We have talked about reset, right? So reset means we can go back to some previous commit, right? So going back to a commit. We can do it in different ways. We can, number one, we can keep all previous changes. We can like reset everything. That means undo everything. Remember, if you do reset hard, then there is no way you can go back, right? So we're going to actually, let's not write it here. Going back to a commit. So I'm not going to do it here. We're going to talk about is more, right? We're going to, all right. Okay, so yeah, that's going to be the end of today's lecture, and then I really want you to practice this concept more and ask me questions if you have. And in the next tutorial, we're going to dive more into Git, and we're going to talk about um, in details how we can use this reset command, how we can use this like pull commands. There is some more stuff like merging and some other stuff as well. So yeah, so next part we're going to talk about pulling, and then in the coming days we're going to move on more advanced stuff. All right, so I am going to stop the class here, and I'll see you next week. Till then, take care of yourself and have a good one. Bye.